we're like fired up. But at some point in time, this is the problem. You see, if we have to give from my academic background in management science, we don't talk about the subject matter without addressing the problem. You're talking about, you're requesting me to give a coordinate a discussion on enthusiasm, consistent enthusiasm in spiritual life, devotional life. What's the problem here? It means that our devotion, we are not. It means the people who make this request, they observe something. And the observation is that we're not having consistent enthusiasm in our devotional life. So they want a change, a positive change. Even the devotional topics could be transformed to academic topics. So the people who make the request, they want a change, a positive change, a positive devotional sense, and the enthusiasm of the practitioners of Bhakti. They have observed that our enthusiasm sometimes wanes, it goes down. Instead of accelerating, it goes down. So they don't like it. And who will like it? No sane person will like that the enthusiasm is not maintained at a high level consistently. And therefore, this is a concern. First of all, we want to give a talk anywhere, in a temple, a home program, or whatever. Yeah. Leela is very good, it's very purifying. But what is the problem we are trying to solve? The question we should ask ourselves is, what is the problem I'm trying to address here in this topic, in this discussion? Even the Leelas, they are embedded with solutions to our problems. So enthusiasm in devotional life is very simple. Rupa Goswami has mentioned about enthusiasm in his Upanishamrita as one of the devotional strategies for maintaining high equilibrium in devotional values. Then the question is, how to maintain high enthusiasm all through in our devotional life. Now, again, this is a change initiative. When we come to devotional service, we are initiating a change in our devotion, in our lives. And when we initiate a change, anyone can initiate a change in their lives. How to lead and manage that change to a fruitful conclusion, that is the problem. You can initiate enthusiasm in your life, even right here, today, right now. You have initiated a change. How to lead that change, how to manage and lead that change to be able to give the individual initiator a profitable conclusion. That is the problem. Because over 65% of change initiatives fail globally, not only devotional service. People initiate a change. Look, during the New Year Eve, people initiate changes in their life, positive changes. This January, January 1, I am not going to smoke anymore. From this January 1, I'm going to wake up to chant my 16 rounds before 7 o'clock. We make these initiatives. We initiate these changes in our lives. And from this January 1, I want to make sure I go to Mangarati every day. Because my house is just by the corner. My house is just adjacent the temple. So what is holding me? So we may make this initiative how to maintain the enthusiasm, to follow up, to be able to get the profitable conclusions. That is the problem. And so, this one, Rupa Goswami has given us some idea that enthusiasm is important in sustaining our devotional values. You want to become pure devotees in this life? And you can become a pure devotee in this life. Why not? Oh yeah. If you want to do that, you have to maintain enthusiasm. Constantly. How do we maintain that constant enthusiasm? So one principle, this is a general principle, not just only in devotional life, is you want to maintain enthusiasm in what you're doing. First principle is you have to have an emergency consciousness. I don't have, the next moment I'm going to die, I don't have time to waste. This is the thing I have to do right now. There is no procrastination. When there is an emergency, who dares to procrastinate during an emergency? If even you can catch the ears of your child, you catch the ears and then you drag them out, you have to leave. Because fire is smoldering the whole environment. People don't waste time during emergencies. They act on it right away. But when it comes to enthusiasm in devotional life, we know what to do. We know what to do. We know we have to get up every day to come to Mangarati. We know how we have to chant 16 rounds before going out. We know every damn thing that we need to do. But one of the basic setbacks is that we have this hridaya dubalya, weakness of the heart. We are weak to act because we don't have emergency consciousness. If we have emergency consciousness, we will set everything behind. We make this our priority. We may going to have sanghas our priority. Why? Because sangha is the very fundamental principle of consistent enthusiasm. Consistent enthusiasm. It's one of the principles of trust is consistency. If you have a pujari, and then he comes to do the puja today, tomorrow he gives some excuses not to come to do the puja, then the next day he comes to do the puja, then the following day he gives excuses not to come to do the puja, you cannot trust him. You cannot trust these deities in his care that, hey, Temple President, I'm traveling, deities are in your care. No, you can never do that because you don't trust him. He is not reliable. Why? Because of lack of consistency. So consistency is one of those elements we use in building trust. We allow people to build trust in us based on our consistency. And if we are consistent about devotional practices, enthusiasm is guaranteed. But then we have our mind tells us, look, Prabhu, you have this whole life to perform this devotional service. Why are you in a hurry? Go steadily, go slowly, go. You have your whole life. Why are you in a hurry? Sometimes also, when we are younger, living in the temples, some devotee becomes very serious with the sadhana. So another devotee who is not very serious come to that person you know, to speak to them, to give him a class. Why he shouldn't be so much in a haste? We should go slowly. Because we have seen people who go in a haste like this and they never remain. They blooped. And we didn't go in a haste. And we are here. So, the mind will tell us something. Or material nature will use somebody to come and educate us, try to educate us. Why we should not be consistent. Why we should not be focused on the ultimate goal of life. Why we should not be in emergency consciousness. They have different ways to preach to us why we should not be in an emergency consciousness. But the very first principle of change management, the very first principle of change management is emergency consciousness. You want to manage a change, you want to lead a change, except you have an emergency consciousness. Forget it. This is not just devotional life. This is a general principle in global management. So what Rupa Goswami has given to us is just a hint, a tip of the iceberg. We do need enthusiasm in all our endeavors, not only in devotional service. We want to excel in any field, we must maintain consistency in our enthusiasm. So how to rebuff that lackadaisical approach to emergency consciousness, uninterested approach to emergency consciousness? How to debunk that? A Sangha, powerful sadhu Sangha, one of the elements. See, when we go to conferences as management scientists, we go to conferences, and you may not be interested in research, but you make a mistake to go to one conference, finish. When you go to the conference, you see all scholars, they come to make the presentations, and you see new ideas in the field, new presentations, new publications. Just by being in that environment, you're fired up. You caught up with that energy. This is based on the principle of the field. The field theory. There is a theory called the German psychologist Professor Lewin. He developed the field theory. According to Professor Lewin, the environment impacts on our behavior. And those of you who have been to Vrindavan or Mayapur, you can see that. You go there, your chanting is paka. Your focus is paka. The only problem is that, at least I can tell for myself, the only problem is that when you go to Mayapur or Vrindavan, you may not like to leave. Because that energy draws you. the field. Another example of the field is fire. I don't believe that fire burns. Okay, no problem. You have a good belief. Fire may not burn. All right, put your hand inside the fire. And then you see that your belief that fire doesn't burn will be debunked by the fire. This is called the field. The field impacts on our behavior. So when we come together, a proper sangha with people of high spiritual potency, whether we like it or not, that sangha changes the dynamics of our lives. That is why in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned that even a moment of association with a pure devotee could be so transformative that an authentic or genuine devotee wouldn't want to miss it, wouldn't want to trade it for $1 billion. This is the effect of the environment. And so we come to the temple, we go to the holy dam. This is not a religious dogma. This is a science. I'm sorry. It's not a religious philosophy. It is a science. There are theories established in management and psychological sciences on this very principle. It's not that you believe it and someone else doesn't believe it. What you believe in does not interfere with this reality. That you don't believe fire burns. Okay, you put your hand in the fire and see what happens to your hand. So we want to diffuse this cloud of lackadaisical approach to enthusiasm. We know I should be enthusiastic. We know I should be having an emergency consciousness. But it's just that I'm not able to do it, And that's not, again, it's not a surprise. In the Bhagavatam is mentioned. Apashya pi na pashyati. Even after pasha, even after seeing, even after hearing, we're not able to act on it. This is due to our conditioning. Conditioning. It's a proper use this word a lot. Conditioned souls. Conditioned souls. But those who are coming from psychological backgrounds, if you understand what conditioning is, you will have a pity of the conditioned soul. You will have a pity for ourselves. To be conditioned is very bad. Because then we sometimes we attribute conditioning to ourselves. It's Prabhu, I'm conditioned, so but we don't really know what we're talking about. We don't really know what we're talking about. So, Professor Pap, look, I like not just talking about religion, but the religious principles have to be effectively backed by scientific values. Then you don't need someone to come and tell you, oh, I don't believe in that. So here is what condition implies. This very word Prabhupada uses all the time. Is the conditioning that is making us not to be consistent in our enthusiasm. And here is conditioning. So I'm just breaking down some of the problems that are the challenges militating against our enthusiasm. Because if you know the challenges, then you can provide a solution. So Professor Pavlov, he developed this model, this conditioning. He conditioned a dog. The dog was put in a cage, and then they bring food to the dog every day. But before they give the food to the dog, he will ring a bell. So the dog got accustomed, got conditioned to ringing of a bell in relationship to his food. So each time they bring the food or they ring the bell, they will measure the salivation rate of the dog. Measurement. Measurement is there in science. So that someone does not say, I don't believe it. So then, the Pavlov noticed that, in his experiment, noticed that each time the dog hears the ringing of the bell, he salivates because food is being brought to him. Then, he did another aspect of the experiment. He rang the bell, no food. And then he measured the salivation of the dog. The dog was still consistent in his salivation because he's been conditioned to the idea that a bell means food is there. So subtly he becomes conditioned. And when we are conditioned, it's so difficult to break away from that condition. And we are the conditioned. We are Nitya Bhadas. So our situation is pitiable. We should not be so proud because we are human beings, because we have great technologies, because we are very rich, or whatever. Our condition, we are conditioned souls. It's so bad. But we can break off from this conditioning by wanting strong sadhu sangha. That environment, fire can burn down even a big, magnificent building. Building might be, maybe they use years to construct a big, magnificent building. Fire can gut it down in 30 minutes. That is the power of environment. Environment is a change agent. An environment is a constant. The object of change is just the variable. And so we can also model our lives in devotional service in such a way that we are able to be consistent and sustained in our enthusiasm in devotional life by having proper association. Another thing we can do is to, women say, well, I don't have strong devotee association. What about Prabhupada? Prabhupada is there. Now, there are all these, I'm sure that majority of people here, they watch movies on the internet. I don't mean any movie, at least devotional movies. So to maintain that sangha, you can listen to Prabhupada's video. Instead of going to the internet to look for something else, to look for some quick fixes, you can use that time to elevate your consciousness. And listen to Prabhupada. That is giving you the strong association you need. Just do that. Give only 30 minutes every day to listen to Prabhupada's video. Every day. Do it for 30 days. You see the change in your life. I guarantee you. 30 days. Experiment. When I say, oh, Maharaja, I'm very busy. We're very busy, but we are not too busy to be on the phone to talk with people for things that do not relate to devotional service, for things that don't relate to our jobs, for things that don't relate to the maintenance of our families. And when we come to the main things that will help us in enthusiasm in devotional life, we say we are very busy. Again, this is because of our condition. We can also read Prabhupada's books. The book of an author is not different from the author himself. So if we are reading Prabhupada's books, we will maintain high enthusiasm in devotional service. If I ask how many people are reading Prabhupada's books every day, we may have a very small percentage amongst us here. But we talk on the phone for hours. So we shouldn't say we don't have the time. It's an abuse of language when we say we don't have the time. Rather, we should say, I'm not able to manage my time effectively. We have the time to build our resources to be able to climax in sustainable enthusiasm in devotional life. We have. And I like meeting people who say, Maharaj, because of my studies, I don't have the time to chat. Because of my job, I don't have the time to chat. If you have anybody who has this type of excuse, you send him to me after the class. So enthusiasm is something that we can practice. But there are tools. So like I mentioned, we have to have an emergency consciousness. And see, emergency consciousness is not a big deal. It's just prioritize your devotional life. Because it is from your devotional life, if you practice your devotional life properly, you can become a successful businessman. You can become a successful householder. You can become a successful scholar. Krishna has to be the foundation. We don't get to the top and maintain that position when we deny Krishna's presence in our life. When we don't take Krishna as our first priority, it is very difficult to maintain sustainability in our success values. We've seen in America, someone becomes a president, and then the next moment he becomes a fellow. Clear? So getting a big position is not even the issue. And you know what? Our enthusiasm in devotional services sometimes gets killed by our position. Why? Because if we don't have a position, we can be very enthusiastic devotees. But when we have a position, we begin to step on people's toes. And that kills our enthusiasm. And I tell you, whether you believe it or not, the second generation guys are the second generation devotees in our movement. They could be more prone to stepping on other people's toes. And that is why the enthusiasm amongst the devotee culture is waning. It gives some position. And power is like a drug. Power is like a drug. You know that? Yes. when, when you're intoxicated or when you take some drugs, you can act funny. But when you act funny, you're going to hurt people. And when you hurt people, that is going to help in winning your enthusiasm in devotion. This is the whole complexity of devotional culture. It's a complex phenomenon. And therefore, we need to meticulously study these principles of devotional service, and especially regarding enthusiasm, we have to see how we are restructuring our lives in such a way that we begin to act as dasa dasa anu dasa. We speak it. It's so easy to speak it. It's so easy to become a parrot or to be a parrotologist. But to be a practitioner of bhakti yoga, it's easy. And so instead of looking for power, we should be looking for service. Because power can kill your enthusiasm. With power, you can commit offenses against people. And it's so easy to commit offenses against people because you think that, I am on top of the world. I'm more advanced than anybody else. Because, this is my love. And therefore, we have to see how our enthusiasm is being maintained by proper checks and balances. One other way to maintain high enthusiasm is to seek for feedbacks. Seek for feedback from your team members. Even say you are a married man, seek for feedback from your family members, from your spouse and your children. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a simple way to do it. Ask your spouse, what are the things I'm doing in this home that you don't feel comfortable, that you think I should adjust myself to create a more enthusiastic, more enthusing devotional culture. I remember, I like telling this story. I was in Delhi some years ago. A gentleman from Pune, he came to me and he said, "Oh, Maharaj, I heard that you are a Bhakti Vasudeva Swami disciple. Oh, I was in love with Maharaj. And all of a sudden he left. I am devastated. Can you be my Siksha Guru?" I said, "I don't have a problem with that." So we were having some rapport. And before he left to Pune, he came to meet me and said, "Maharaj, I'm leaving tomorrow. What's your any advice? What advice can you give me to be able to maintain a good, loving, devotional family?" As a young man with 3 kids, young wife. What time is this class supposed to start? Stop. 4:15. Oh, is this beyond the time? I'm sorry. So, and so he came to meet me and said, "Do you want to maintain some high enthusiasm in his devotional service, in his family? Create wonderful, loving relationship in his family. Because there cannot be great, loving relationship without enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness. No, no, not at all. Here's the secret. Here's the whole thing behind it. You're thinking you're lacking love in the family. It's not that you're lacking love, you lack enthusiasm in devotional service. Because if you're highly enthused, you will not do anything to hurt anybody. So this gentleman came to me, young man, IT, travels around a lot. And so he said, "Well, what advice can you give me?" I said, "Okay, I have a solution." I told him I have a solution to your problem. He said, "Please, Maharaj, share." So I said, if you want to maintain your enthusiasm in devotional service, you want to maintain a high value of love in your relationship with your wife and your children, when you get back home, when your wife is peaceful, happy, you are peaceful and happy, sit her down and ask her, "Mataji, what is it that I'm doing in this family that you don't feel comfortable with?" Again, it boils down, I mentioned before, feedback. Sometimes we don't like that word feedback, but that helps in maintaining high enthusiasm. because you can avoid offenses. So I said, when you get back home, tell your wife, ask your wife this question: what are the things I'm doing in this family that you don't feel comfortable with, that you will want me to make an adjustment, to change for a better enthused devotional culture in the family? And this gentleman, he looked at me right in the face and he said, Maharaj, if I ask my wife this, she will bring a whole long list. I said, see, you came to see me to seek for advice as a professional. And I give you the advice, but you're rejecting the advice. It's like you go to see the doctor. I have fever, I have headache, I have cold. And doctor examines you, recommends some tests, blood tests, and all these things. And then the results come out, the doctor prescribes some medication. And you tell the doctor, sir, this tablet, I cannot take it. You said I should take it 6 o'clock in the morning. At that time, I'm still sleeping. So we need to be a little bit more consistent in our sadhana, in our seeking for feedbacks. In fact, if we ask for feedbacks, these are things that even without broad-based knowledge in the field of academia, these are things that Bhakti Vasudeva Swami, he taught us. Yeah. Seeking for feedback. And the wife could also ask for feedback from the husband. Prabhu, what is it that I'm doing in this home that you don't feel so comfortable? I feel my enthusiasm is waning. Must be some due to offenses. So, when I'm doing that, what's your feelings? Even your children, you should ask them. The problem is that the parents, I have seen families that a child is 35 years old and the father still comes and gives him command here and there and all this. One of uh, my friends in India, he's a young man, 30 years old. He's got his PhD in mathematics last year. So he told me a story, and I couldn't hold myself. I was just laughing. He told me he went home to visit with his parents. So in the evening, I think about 5:30 or to 6, he was trying to go out to visit his friends. And as he was trying to go out from the family house, he saw some lady came to block him. It's his mother. His mother says, "Hey, where are you going? Look at the time." 30 years old. He has a PhD in mathematics. So parents can also be offensive to their children. And that could wane our enthusiasm. And the feedback helps to check the balance. So I mentioned a number of things. Emergency consciousness. Listening to Prabhupada's teachings, videos, reading Prabhupada's books. Sangha, based on the field theory, environment impacts on our values. Sangha. And we are talking about feedbacks. So a number of things we can go home with. We'd like to stop there. Maybe there are some comments or some questions about how to improve on our enthusiasm in devotion. Again, thank you very much for coming to participate in this Krishna consciousness. Any comments or questions? Yes.
You said that when the person becomes a position, then
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, I can give you an example. When I was young, I was also serving as a temple president. But the temple where I was serving, I had senior devotees who were there. And I used to be very, very hard, very, very difficult brahmachari. So when I came to lay my principles and all these things, I remember one time I came to lay my principles and everything else. And the five or three senior devotees in that temple, they came to meet me in the temple president office. And they said, Vasudev, see, we like your policies. Okay? But this one, we cannot support you. You should have people around you that will give you feedback. Otherwise, everybody else will just be silent and pretend as if nothing is happening to them. But they are feeling hot. And this kills our enthusiasm. Feedback. We should have people around us. A manager should have people around them who gives them feedback about what the people are saying. Ram had that. Lord Ram had that. He had people around. It's there in our scripture. He had people around who come to tell him, give him feedback from the community. And then he will adjust himself and act accordingly. That's how it works. You see, this of management and leadership, that's my area. That's where I did my PhD in academia. So you can ask me anything about all this. So yes, we can check that. If we are not friendly with people, they will not tell us how they're feeling. No. They will just be afraid of being victimized. That is a concept called psychological safety. When we don't have psychological safety in our communities, people will not alert the managers or those who are in position of power, whether their acts of managerial disposition are being felt in a negative way or not. Psychological safety means I observe something and I say it without fear of punishment. If we don't have psychological safety in the families, your child is not going to come and tell you anything. Because he or she will be afraid if I say something, oh, Papa is going to kill me. Or your wife will say, if I tell my husband this, oh, I'm in trouble. Psychological safety. We need that in our families. We need that as managers in our approaches. We should encourage our team members in psychological safety. It makes some meaning? Any other comment or question? Yes. I don't know. Mm. Yeah. When we're associating with devotees, we have to serve them. The Prabhupada was a good example for that. Prabhupada, he met some of the people he met were potheads, bohemians, drug addicts. But he served them. He gave them knowledge. He served them in multiple ways. He served them by giving them knowledge. He served them by giving them, sharing, even the little fruit he has to eat. He shares among them. And then later they realize, what? He's an older person. He's giving us knowledge. He's also serving us. No, we'll give our lives to him. So in Sangha, Service is very important. The service is two-way system. They should not think, well, I'm a Swami, I'm a PhD, I'm a guru, you serve me. No, service is like we don't look at our position. The president of this country or the prime minister, he serves his kids, even his grandkids. He serves them. Why are we afraid of serving people? Because service purifies. To serve is better than to receive service. Sometimes I travel to places, and then my host will come to knock on the room. Oh, Maharaja, do you have any clothes for washing? I said, oh, I washed my clothes last night. Oh, sometimes they become very upset because this is how I was trained in America. We're trained to be, individualistic, self-dependence. Don't look for help from anybody. Self-sufficiency. But people should come and render help, render service if they want. But we should not think, well, I'm in this position. I came here before you. You just came yesterday to this temple. You're supposed to serve me. No, it should be that. It should be that we are serving the people who are coming. That is proper Sangha. Sangha means to render some service. Otherwise, it becomes like a socialization. People just hang out with each other and then they backbite. Yeah. Does it make some sense? Make some sense? Babu, does it make some sense? Okay, I think we have to stop. Otherwise, the class may never end. I'm sorry. See, I came in from India. I left Mayapur like 2 o'clock, and I came into this country, flew to this country about 7:45, and I tell you, I'm feeling sleepy because for the whole of last night I didn't sleep. I don't know how to sit down on the plane and sleep. It was a night trip, so I don't want to sit down here and fall off asleep. So again, thank you for coming to participate in Krishna consciousness. See this place as your primary home. Your home should be a secondary home. So come, do some service, come to the temple. You've been coming for years. You should be serving the holy name. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaj ki jai.